Right now, I have to stop saying
Coming up on the DLLS Stars Pregame Show, which is right now, Luds and I are going to preview maybe the biggest game of the regular season for both the Stars and the Jets. We'll tell you why the Stars are struggling right now. We'll tell you what they're going to try to do to fix it. Is this the end of the world? The sky isn't falling. All those things right here on DLLS.
The sky is falling!
Well, this is the DLLS Stars Pregame Show. Luds and I are having an ongoing conversation about profanity. And you're right, it is quick. So what we need to do is program your brain, which is admittedly not an easy task, to recognize something else before we get to that.
I wish these lights would blink.
Just a little house lights.
If the lights would blink, I'd know. Don't say what
Have you ever been to a live theater play, musical production, any of those things? Have you ever been to a play?
I was at the Rockettes in New York.
Okay, so you know how in theater they'll always dim the house lights a couple of times as sort of a, hey, we're about to start.
Right, that's what we need.
You need the house lights to dim.
Or the lamp behind.
Luds having attended a play is one of the bigger upsets that I've witnessed this season, bigger than Vancouver's comeback.
What would you have handicapped that odds before he answered the question?
Oh, I thought he would have ripped the concept of musical
Just
theater
like
on
a
its
play.
own. Yeah.
Like the East Side, West Side or something like that?
Yeah, that would be are you talking about the Jets and the Sharks?
I went there to watch the high leg kick.
Oh.
And
Do you even know what the Rockettes are?
I know who the Rockettes are.
Oh, yes, he does.
Oh, do you? Okay.
He is well-versed
Do
in
you even know what
show
Hamilton
business.
is, bro?
What is?
Exactly.
An embryo?
He said Hamilton.
Oh, yeah, well, I know who Hamilton
look
is.
weird without a hat.
Do you know that there's a Broadway show called Hamilton? Yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty popular.
I know
So,
that.
question for you. Did you enjoy the Rockettes' performance?
I actually fell asleep.
Of course.
Well,
perfect.
I was with my parents and my younger brother. And
When was this?
oh, man, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago.
Like,
yeah.
You were done playing?
No, I was still playing, I think. I don't know.
Start
I
playing
don't
for
know.
the Stars, probably?
The bottom line is my brother and I found a bar before we went to the thing.
There
And
you go.
we were both passed out by the second leg kick.
It doesn't surprise me that beer might have been involved.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little Irish bar right up across the street.
Well, this is perfect timing because
need a
before we
Miller
get
Lite.
into the seriousness of our pregame show, and we do actually have some serious analysis. We're not just going to talk about the Rockettes for the whole half hour. Although I would love to dive in further to Luds' whole experience. I'd like to give a quick shout. I got to move my mic with me to our good viewer and loyal supporter Christian, who
You're having a hard time with stick there.
Yeah, I'm not a goalie. There's Jake Oettinger bobblehead.
You're not forward either.
And did you notice this? There's a little otter at his feet. I didn't know that when they did
Have
this
John
game.
zoom in with the camera.
Well, that's
We can't do that?
that's the. But then
don't
we
have that
also
capability.
have we got a Wyatt Johnston bobblehead. He's doing his leg kick celebration. Thank you, Christian. He noticed that he heard us talking on the show the other night, Luds, when you asked if Sam waited in line. By the way, Sam's not here tonight, so Sam, feel better. And he reached out and said, "Would you guys like a bobblehead for your set?" And he goes, "I can get my hands on one. I'd love one." So he actually gave us one of each. So thank you, Christian. It'll be a staple of our show here as we add to our bobblehead
It
collection.
may get knocked off or get something spilt on it, but
I noticed
we'll
that
do our
Razor
best.
still gets center stage, though.
I was trying to hide him. I was actually trying to just get his big head to stick up behind there, but there was a little too much. That other goalie mask isn't big enough.
I feel like you're going to make a joke to Razor at some point about how difficult it is to hide his bobblehead.
Something will come.
Yeah.
Something will come to me.
I think so. All right, let's talk to Stars for a minute. Let's get into it. So, and by the way, Christian's in the chat right now saying that we're very welcome, least he could do. So thank you very much. There he is, right there. See? Luds, I want you to hear from head coach Pete DeBoer because he talked about overcoming this historic loss Never been done in NHL history before. 3 goals, blown lead with a minute to go, and then lose the game.
You can't
practice. Yeah, sorry, John. He talked it in practice yesterday, and here's
John, you should know by now. He's always got a little something
always
extra.
got extra to
It's
say.
like a 3-second pause.
Here's what he had to say today, and well, it's a little bit of a longer clip, but I want you to hear all of it because he goes into quite detail.
Do I play it now?
Yeah.
Now go.
Thank you.
We can't spend any time or energy on things we can't control anymore. It is a shame. I'm looking at it though. Maybe it's the best thing that happened to us. Maybe we needed to go through this adversity in order to find our identity coming out of the trade deadline, in order to make sure. And who's to say that? I honestly think there's could have been 500-point teams in our division. Minnesota and St. Louis are sitting at 93, 94. Both have a case. St. Louis with a better start, and Minnesota with some less injuries are probably legitimately 100-point teams too. So there's no easy opponents. For me, we've got to build. The nice thing about last game, despite how the last minute went, I saw, long stretches of us playing to our identity again. Finally, hard to play against an ozone, drawing penalties, defending well, power play was good. So we've got to build on that.
Okay, so there's 2 parts to that. The part in the middle where he's talking about possibly 5 Central Division teams being 100-point teams. We could do that during our regular show or something else if we want to dive into that, because that's a whole different conversation. It's the beginning and the end. One is we could use this as our wake-up call. And the other part is he liked what they did, especially for the first 40 minutes, and getting back to that for the first time in a while. What did you think about Pete's comments?
Last thing first. We've seen good for the first 40 or good for the first 20 and the last 20. It isn't complete 60. This is what we've talked about and we've seen, and things like that. The last minute of the game, you don't want that happening. And I agree with Pete though when saying this may be the best thing for us, because if something didn't slap you in the face in the last month or 2 months or whatever about some of this stuff, well, then that was your biggest slap in the face. And if that means that now our players are going to buy in or work a little harder or change a couple different things, that's great. But generally, when you play, you're getting into the 70s, 60s, and 70s, you're not changing any of your systems, which they're not going to change any of their system. I've said that before we go into playoffs, especially at this time of the year. Again, they're a top 5 team in the NHL, and they've had good success all year long. So, but we've seen this stuff kind of creep. And when your goaltenders aren't great, that's what happens. Is what happened in the last minute the other night.
The thing that I really took away from both Pete and the players over the last 48 hours is, unlike our post-game show where the fans were losing their minds at how they felt this was a soul-crushing loss and you're going to win this game, to suddenly we've never done it, we're on the wrong end of NHL history. The players all, to a man, seem to say it's one regular season game. It's not good, but it's, thank goodness it's not a playoff game, and we move on, and we're having a pretty good day. We're not really thinking about it too much anymore. We're flushing that. Yeah,
I think you always want to show strength. I don't know if they necessarily feel that way, but you're supposed to say the right things, and I don't mean by sugarcoating it. And they're right. It's not the end of it. It's not the end of the line, but they're disappointed. I think forget how they played. They're disappointed in general that they lost the game because of what this game would mean. And it still means the same thing. They still want to beat this team, but if they would have won that hockey game and finished it the way that you're supposed to finish games, when you get up by 3 goals in the first period, you should not be losing hockey games. But they want to be able to put that, basically step on another team's throat. Well, they did just the opposite. They put a bandage on it. And so, but I agree with what they're trying to do, and they're going to take the high road because they still can win this hockey game, and it'll put that last game or the last 3 games in the rearview mirror.
That's a great point.
But does that mean, just to the players, does it mean that it's fixed? No, it's not fixed. It's but again, that's the way I would think that you have to look at this from a player standpoint.
So let's take it now to, as you talked about, to tonight's game and what's at stake. The Stars are winless in their last 3 games. They are 0-1-2. They've lost the right way twice by getting points in 2 of those 3, because there is a right and wrong way to lose hockey games. Now, forget the performance, the way they played. 2 points is better than 0. If they were on a 3-game losing streak, we wouldn't be talking about this tonight, because the Stars and Jets meet each other for the 4th and final time. They are 4 points back of the Jets for the first place spot in the Central, the West, and the President's Trophy. All 3 races are at stake at the moment. A win tonight in regulation. Now, overtime or shootout doesn't completely push it away, but really Dallas needs a regulation win. And if they do that, they would be within 2 points of the Jets with 3 games each to play and tied with the first tiebreaker, which is regulation wins. That's the important one, because Dallas might, at the end of the regular season, equal Winnipeg's point total. But if they don't have the tiebreaker, I think it's going to be hard for Dallas to jump past them. Or it could happen. If they lose tonight, Luds, and it's 6 points with 3 to go, it's not
mathematically out.
It's effectively over.
Yeah, from a player's.
Yeah.
It's a lot of useless information for me as a player.
No, right.
Because there's only one thing that we're going to do tonight. We're winning hockey game.
Yeah.
And then we've got to win the next game.
Right.
And then we got to win the next game. So it's just the way it is. So, yeah, I mean, I think from the outside, you're trying to find hope, right? Don't count them out. And again, I think we feel we would like them to avoid Colorado if we could.
It would be better if you had to play St. Louis or Minnesota than the Avalanche.
And you know what? Then we're like, man, St. Louis has been pretty hot, and
they've lost 2 in a row.
Yeah, and
after winning 12 in a row.
And then will you let your guard down because you're not playing Colorado? And
boy,
the good news possibly for some people is they're not playing McKinnon for the net because he might have a lower body.
They
injury.
know exactly where they're going to be in the standings,
Exactly.
so there's no. And
Yeah,
that
so
leads
don't
me
even
to the
bring
point
that
of,
stuff up.
well, you want to avoid Colorado, and you said this on our show the other day, it may not be worth it for the Stars to throw the kitchen sink at the last 4 games. Now, it's not saying they don't try to win, but you want to get Tyler Seguin a game.
Yeah, when you know that you're not going to be able to move up, now you may want to tweak a couple.
And
things,
if the Stars
player-wise.
don't beat the Jets tonight, I think there's a chance you could see Tyler play on Saturday against the Utah Hockey Club at home, because you have to send Liam Bichel down. He's the only one you can do that they're going to do. They're not going to. I was on with Winnipeg's YouTube broadcast with Andrew earlier today, and he said the Jets have cap space, which is why they're carrying such a huge roster, because there's no roster limits after the trade deadline, just salary cap. Well, what's to stop the Jets from, if you said, okay, well, instead of Liam Bichel, let's waive one of our veteran guys that needs to go through waivers. It's not waiver exempt. What's to stop the Jets from just scooping up Brendan Smith or Colin Blackwell and saying, well, now the Stars don't have him for the playoffs. So it's only Bichel. And my whole point on that is, and we were talking about Seguin yesterday, if you think you need to win that game because you're trying to catch the Jets, you're not going to take Liam Bichel out of the lineup, right?
No.
But you have to get Tyler Seguin in if you want him to play before the playoffs. If the race is effectively over, that's a Sean word, thank you, then if that's the case, I think it's easier to tell Liam, okay, we're not going to have you play a couple games.
Yeah.
But if it matters...
And you explain, and Liam will know.
Oh, of course.
They tell Liam, here's the deal. This is why.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not your play. It's nothing like that. And I think Liam goes, yeah, I get it. We'll be fine.
But if they beat the Jets tonight and we're 2 points back with 3 games to go, and Winnipeg doesn't have a really tough schedule, but they have a back-to-back, including the second night being back at home against the Edmonton Oilers, that's a game they could lose. So if the Stars won out and the Jets went 2-1, they've got them. With some little tiebreaker math in there as well. Maybe they don't scratch Liam Bichel. So I think if the Stars beat the Jets in regulation tonight, we don't see Tyler Seguin for sure on Saturday. And we may not anyway. He might not play till next week. Pete said today he's knocking on the door. Very, very close. But that's just that was that. We're going to get into a whole bunch more about this in just a moment here on our DLLS Stars pregame show. And we want to talk about penalties. But first, let's talk about Sleeper. It's the best fantasy league platform out there. You can put your puck or your ball knowledge to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week. In a moment, we're going to turn it over to our absolute savant. His name is John. He's going to make some picks for tonight's game. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Excuse me. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries. You can stay ahead of the game and keep track of league updates in real time, so you're always informed and ready to outsmart your friends. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app, use the code DLLS Stars, and that will get you $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply to any contest, doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. And now, here's John.
And Burned Oils in the chat has me self-conscious on camera now. I guess we'll address that super chat at the end of this. But
We have a super chat.
let's
and a
go with
preview
the Stars on home ice big game. We're going to take Jake Oettinger, more than 24.5 saves. Mason Marchment, this seems a little low to me. 1.5 shots on goal was the more or less. I'm going to go more there. And in order to juice this thing, we're going to take Jamie Benn to get number 400 tonight. Jamie Benn, more than 0.5 goals. And because on the Sleeper app, when you make these entries, you need to pick players from more than one team, we're going to go with Dylan Sandberg, Jets defenseman, to record less than 2.5 blocked shots. And Burned Oils, thanks for pointing out that I had to pop a zit in the bathroom right before the show.
Bing bong.
And I guess apparently everyone can see it. So thanks, Burned Oils. Appreciate it.
And did it in Canadian. Was that a 271 Canadian?
Yes, it is. We don't need to give it any more.
Okay.
Any more airtime.
Man, talk about zooming in. It's not like you were on full screen either.
Yeah. I mean, should we do Dr. Pimple Popper right here on the pregame show?
Well, now we're zooming it in.
Oh, it's not even that bad.
It doesn't look that bad.
It's just a little red right there.
Ooh.
I'm
Anyways.
telling you, somebody's using a magnifying glass or something. I would also like to point out that John is not afraid to go with a 4-pick selection for Sleeper.
Well, I get cocky after I hit. So we hit the other night. So now I'm like, I feel invincible right now. I'm driving without a seatbelt.
We need to do some investigation about the other DLLS shows because I have a feeling that they're not doing this.
I didn't see the S's block shots.
He went away from Essa tonight.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
So he's got Oettinger
Well, then it
more
breathes.
than 24.5 saves. Marchment more than 1.5 shots on goal. Jamie Benn more than 0.5 goals, so basically to score. And then Dylan Sandberg, the Jets defenseman, less than 2.5 block shots.
I don't know if people saw at the end of that, though, but because there was questions about this, I did leave in the screen recording me submitting the entry and placing my hard-earned dollars on it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a
Oh.
little bit more on this now. All right. I love it. Thank you, John. All right, Luds. One of the things we've been talking about lately is the Stars not playing particularly well, but still getting results. And it's a bit against logic that they keep getting results, although you keep turning to
That should be the
goaltending.
name of this show.
Against logic?
Yeah, that would be a great name of this show.
Or without logic?
Without logic.
Without logic. Check this out. Penalties are a problem, and the Stars have been suddenly penalty prone. Most of the season, beginning of the year all the way till the middle of March, they were tied for 23rd in time shorthanded with 169. They were 21st in how much time on ice shorthanded they were per game. You can see they were nearly last in the league, 29th out of 32 teams in minor penalties taken, all on the left-hand side of your screen. And, of course, they're penalty killed, number one in the league, and a very good record. Somehow, they have gone to the other end of the spectrum, and now they are in from March 16th to the present, tied for first in time shorthanded, first in shorthanded time on ice, second in minors only to the Anaheim Ducks, and their penalty kill has taken a little bit of a hit. But Luds, this is the baffling part, and I want you to address why you think this is happening, except that their record has gotten better, even though they've been in the box so much more.
Well, the reason it continues to get better and stay good when they're in the box is because of the goaltending save percentage. We've talked about shorthanded save percentage. Dallas was somewhere around 911, 912, which was easily the best. I think the next closest was 903 or something like that. So that has a lot to do with it, in my opinion. You know what? Penalties come out of poor position a lot of times and frustration. And I think there's been frustration in games for the team. And I look at position sometimes, but I don't always, again, we've been beating this thing like a piñata as far as the system. And I think the system sometimes lends to position. And there's something else called lazy penalties. And, coaches always say, that's a lazy penalty. That's a lazy penalty. Typically, it's a holding, it's a hooking, a tripping. And what that means a lot of times is you haven't got good position on the opponent. And so you're chasing from behind. You haven't gotten there on time. You didn't see it. In this case, and you'd be surprised that of the penalties, I think you said, what were there, 48, 49 penalties or something like that?
Yep.
What the tripping, holding, and hooking, you'd be surprised that those three are 39% of the penalties of those 49 penalties.
Wow. So
those
that's
so-called lazy penalties.
almost 40% of them.
Which could always be positioning. And when I talk about the positioning and we talk about how they play in their own zone. Now, the other thing is Mason Marchment, I'd give a pass on. 4 of the 5 of Marchment's are tripping. And I see Mason Marchment a lot of time. He gets in on the forecheck and he tries to cause disruption, and he will take, and offensive zones are typically a no-no. You don't take off. But Mason doesn't quit on plays, and so he's trying to grab the guy that he may have missed, and he either trips him or he hooks him.
The one against Chris Letang last week against the Penguins,
I don't know which one's which, but
that
I
was
see
awful.
a lot of them happening in the offensive
that was
zone.
the one where he got knocked down and then swung his stick
Well,
at his
yeah,
foot,
that was
and
just
you're like, what? You got to let that
a couple
one go.
wires stuck. That's
Yeah.
frustration. That's what I mean. There's a frustration penalty. So of those so-called lazy penalties, sometimes I look at them as being part of the system. And what happens when you play in the system, as you've heard this all year long, is you get boxed out at times. And you get on the wrong side of players because teams are learning how to play against a team that plays similar to this. And I think we have an example that I put in here just from last game. And I just want you to see, and this is Jamie Benn. So here's Jamie Benn, and this is the system, right? This is who Jamie's guy is, which in a different kind of system, you just pass him off to a defenseman. There's usually generally 2. So here's the first clip.
Now, this is 5-on-5 here at the end of the game.
This is 5-on-5, and that's what I'm talking about. This is how penalties are taken at times, or something else happens. Now we go to the next one. So here's what's happening. Jamie's guy has now, where Jamie was out near the top of the circle, Jamie's guy is now driving to the net. He's going to create confusion. Watch the next one.
And that's Wyatt's guy sneaking down the corner, isn't it?
Yeah, but I want you to watch Jamie's guy. Go
And
ahead, John. Now
got
look
inside
at
him.
You see, no, forget the inside of him. Look at the pile that he's taking Jamie into.
Yes.
Right? He's pulling him into this pile. Not
Oh,
only
I see what
Jamie,
you're saying.
but
Sure,
now
yeah.
look at the goaltender. What the hell he's got to look
You're
through.
literally dragging the defender.
And
in
this
case,
is by
Jamie, into it.
design. This is what teams will do. Watch the next one.
Because they know that they're
Okay,
playing man
now
on man.
look at this one. See that guy right there? He's got the puck. That's the guy that Jamie started with on this side of the ice. Jamie's standing in front of his goaltender right now because he got lost in the pile. Well, guess what that player does? He puts the puck in the net, right? He scores.
And then
now look at Jamie.
he's about to break his
Here's the
stick.
frustration. That's because whether it's the system, whether Jamie felt he could have been a little bit tighter on him, whatever you want to call it, this is frustrating. It's
He
frustrating
used the
as a
pile
player.
in front as a pick, basically.
Of course you do.
And rubbed
that's
him
what
right off
happened
the
2
play.
years ago when they were playing Vegas. Vegas started interchanging
Interesting.
their people in the offensive zone, and so you would create those little moving picks.
And Colorado
and it's
does that
not-
in the high
But
slot
what
a
happens
lot.
is when you play man on man, if you just play a normal system, there's moving picks that happen all the time. And the players will always come to the puck carrier. So if a puck carrier is coming up the ice this way, you want to kind of go this way, but go above him so he can either drop it to you, and it creates a little confusion. But when you play man on man, you're bringing another body with you. Now there's 4 guys in that pile. And it's funny, I was listening to tape and New York Rangers. So they asked Laviolette about, they lost the game last night. They gave up 8 goals or something like that. And so one of the reporters asked, because they've been complaining about they play a man-on-man system in the Rangers. Was it the system? Peter's answer was, no, he missed his assignment. Well, it had nothing to do with man-on-man. Was it that? No, it's not that. He missed his assignment. Well, he got picked off. What I just showed you,
Right.
He got picked off because other teams are starting to play teams differently that want to play that way.
Okay, so follow-up question then. What can the Stars do? They're not going to change their system. You just said that earlier in the pregame. What can they do to try to counterbalance or counteract those kind of plays so that they don't get picked as much?
Well, the only thing that I can say is you have to see what you're running into, because a lot of times what happens in this system, and again, I don't like it when defensemen especially, they'll leave the front of the net and they'll go out there, the player that they're with at the front of the net decides to go out around the top of the circles. Well, next thing you know, you got a defenseman out here, and then you'll have a forward that's standing in front with a forward that went to the net. But you have to look around. Let's just use the example of Steele and Smith. Did they have their head on the swivel? Either one of them looking around? They were following their guy, and then they ultimately crashed.
And
you have to, as you're going with a player, you have to know what's going on. Unfortunately, in today's game, it's so fast. You got to keep your eye on the guy that you're supposed to be with. Now, what Dallas does well is they shut things down at the offensive blue line, their defensive blue line. They shut it down generally there. They take time and space away from them. That's what killed. That's why they're so good at it generally. But it's when teams get in and you're now down below the tops of the circles and you haven't closed that play off right away, now this starts happening. So they've been good because they can track back. They track back hard. They're fast. They come back. And when players come in with the puck and want to curl up, they can't do it because they shut them down. But when they have time to get another player in there and there's somebody else coming, now it gets a little chaotic. And and again, it's difficult to play against. In that way as a player.
Do you think that's why Dumba struggled so much early in the season with it?
Oh,
because it was a real adjustment?
Yeah. I think Labushkin kind of mentioned something like that. But yeah, it's different. If you don't play that system and you're not used to it, for the most part, and I can only speak for you play in a certain area. I would love to see these guys tighten things up. You see a lot of teams, you see Florida, they're so good at in their own zone, they'll have 5 guys within 10 feet of the puck. They take all your time and space away, but they're all in the right areas. The guys, defensemen are where they're supposed to be, forwards are where they go if they have to get to the front of the net, and then they shift. If the puck goes the other side, all 5 guys. It's like they all have a rope tied to them. They take time and space away, but this way, and we've showed clips before in the last 3 games where you see open guys in front of the net. That's because guys are going with their guys and they're getting outside what we call the dangerous area or the box that's in front of the goaltender.
Okay, so let's look at the lineup really quickly because that was fascinating, and we'll see if that plays out that way tonight because we have one change for the lineup. Oscar Beck back in, Colin Blackwell comes out, and Pete basically said it's their turn. They're just rotating these bottom 4 or 5 guys through. Bork had a couple games off. Steele had a couple injuries. Dodonov got scratched a little bit. They're keeping everybody engaged, which is a smart move because they're all effective in what they're being asked to do.
No, there's no surprises here, and they want to keep guys up, and they don't want to sit. You feel sorry for a guy like Brendan Smith, who we were talking about before the show. I mean, he gets 1 game in the last 6 weeks. You got a defenseman that goes down. Brendan's got to come in somehow and play.
Well, and that actually, as we look at the defense now, no changes, Oettinger and net. If they do end up activating Sagan to play, you have to send Bischel down. Smith will get a couple games, and that could be really good before the playoffs begin.
Absolutely, and I'm hoping that's part of their plan.
I hope so too.
Because you don't go on a long playoff run with your 6 defensemen. Somebody's getting banged up. Generally, you're going to use 8 or 9 defensemen if you're going from game 1 to game 16 win. That you're going to go through some you're going to go through some forwards too.
Let's take a look at the Jets here because there are 2 game time decisions, and according to the warm-up reports, it appears that they are both going to play. First, it's Nikolai Ehlers. He did not play, took the morning skate, but then was a scratch on Monday night. Was it Monday, their last game? No, it was Wednesday, I think it was. Yeah. But, no, it can't be Wednesday. It was yesterday, Tuesday. I forget my days. But here's the thing. Looks like he's going to play. He's super fast. We'll see how much this is almost the same lineup. It's a little different because Velarde is hurt right now, so Andersen Dolan is in.
These guys are playing because this is like a playoff game for them. I mean, they want to get this over with. They want to be able to.
But they have 3 games left after this. The question is, how many of these guys are playing?
They know how important this game is against this Dallas team. They want Dallas and Colorado to meet.
They can effectively that was for Sean, clinch the first overall spot in the division tonight if they win. Not mathematically, but as much, and that'll take some pressure off the others. Here's the defense now for the Jets, and the other one back in is Neil Pionk. He has been out for quite a while. He's missed 12 games, hasn't played since March 11th against the New York Rangers. And this, I think, is a big thing for their group to get him back in their lineup.
Well, when you look, I watched Stanley the other night against, they play St. Louis. I really loved him. I watched his last 2 or 3 games of the Jets games. Stanley's been, I thought he was just a 6'7" kind of guy. He's heavy. He moves the puck well. He finishes his hits. You got size back there. That's number 6 or 5 and 6, whatever you want to call him. There's some big dudes right there. And then you throw Pionk in there. He plays the same similar style. And then, of course, with Morrissey, he's your guy that acts like a forward back there, and he's having a hell of a year himself as far as offensively and getting pucks up and down and on the power play.
You know, Logan Stanley is an interesting one for me, Luds, because I was watching him briefly at morning skate, just going, you know, you think of him as a guy that didn't play that much the last couple of years. And maybe he was in Rick Bonus's doghouse, or just, hey, you're our extra guy. You're not going to play a whole lot. I don't know if he had a bunch of injuries. I think he had an injury issue at one point, but he's a former first round pick, and he's 6'7".
Yep.
But I never think, I know he's big, and I've seen him be that tall, but I never think of him like I think of a Jamie Alexiak.
Right.
Now, Alexiak doesn't play to his size for the most part either, but this guy is imposing. 6'7", 231 pounds. He's going to turn 27 in May, and he's at 198 regular season games. I feel like he's just getting into his own.
Yeah, well,
at the NHL level.
I just think from last year when I saw him, or beginning of this year, whatever it was, he's come miles. He's got confidence. He plays fast. Fast for a big guy. He plays within their system, and you notice him most in the corners and in front of the net. That's where you notice him the most.
Well, with this one tonight, it's going to be a huge decision to see how they play out the next 3 games. If they win, the Stars, you could see a real push for the Utah game on Saturday, Detroit next week, and then Nashville to close it out. If they lose tonight, it's still alive, but it would be near impossible. They'd have to win all 3, and the Jets would have to lose all 3, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think if the Jets win tonight, both teams kind of go on to cruise control mode and manage for the playoffs. If they don't, then they both realize, as they try to avoid Colorado, how serious. So it would be a really interesting one tonight. Don't forget, Matt Duchene is on a 7-game point streak. He's been the Stars' most consistent player all year, and he leads them in points with 80 and 30 goals. We'll see if he gets one tonight. For John and Luds, we'll be here for the postgame show. I'm Owen. Enjoy the game.
He's going to finish his chicks.
I believe that they are going to crush these guys.
You did it.
All silly like the mayor.